What's going on, YouTube? So, after some of my friends have pointed out, it'd be a little annoying when it comes to basic reptile care. Why? I have a few. And it bothers me when I see people that don't know what they're doing, don't know how to properly care for their reptiles, and unfortunately, a lot of the reptiles suffer, and I just don't like that. And I spend a lot of time trying to correct people when I can. So my buddy just comes up to me and goes, "You know what? Start a YouTube channel. You'll reach more people that way, and you won't be as annoying as just walking up to total strangers and saying, 'Hey, I don't think that's right. This is what I think you should do instead.'" So I'm taking his advice, uploading my first video, and seeing how this goes. So with that, welcome to Generation Reptile. And for today's special co-host, we have Potato. Say hi. So, Potato was surrendered to me from a family as they no longer wanted him. There you go back in your little bed. And I agreed to take him in. Figured it'd be, okay, simple. It's a beardy. We'll take care of him. Things will be fine. No big whoop. One extra mouth to feed. Unfortunately, the people that had him had no real knowledge, honestly, when it comes to the proper care for a bearded dragon. And unfortunately, our little buddy Potato suffered the side effects of that. So today what I'm going to talk about with you guys is the do's and don'ts. And with Potato's help, we're going to show you what can be some of the negative results of not knowing how to properly care for your bearded dragon. So, with that, we're going to start on topic number 1. Never, ever house your beardies together, people. Unless you have intent of breeding, there's no reason, there's no benefit, and a lot of times it does not end pleasant. And Mr. Potato here, unfortunately, suffered that, as Potato is a male, and they had him paired up with another male. And the consequences were not good. Not as bad as they could have been, but it was a mistake that was made that honestly never should have been made. That could have been avoided with just some of this simple, basic knowledge and taking a little time to do some research and understand the animal you're going to care for. So, as a issue that Potato has dealt with, you're very active all of a sudden, has had to deal with, let's see. With this hand, you can see nubby toes. And with this one, again, nubby toes, non-existent. And then unfortunately, his tail also took the brunt from this other dragon. So that right there, folks, is a perfect example of why you don't want to house your beardies together, especially two males. They're just like any other animal out there. There's going to be a dominant. There's the one who wins and the one who loses. And usually, unfortunately, when it comes to the one who loses, you have to clean them up with a paper towel off the side of the tank. Unfortunately for us, it did not end quite that bad, but again, it's a mistake that happened that never should have happened. So this is going to bring us on to option number 2. UVB. Not all reptiles require it, but there are those that do. And beardies? Well, hell, they love the stuff. And unfortunately with him, I'm sure this one, again, could have been completely solved with a little bit of education. All he had was basking lights. There was no UV bulbs in that tank at all. So unfortunately, he does have some minor cases of what's called MBD, metabolic bone disease. Unfortunately, there's no cure for it. You can't reverse it. All you can do is provide proper UVB, give him calcium supplements, and hope for the best. You can pretty much prevent it from getting worse if you take the measures, but you'll never repair it. Lucky for us, his isn't horrible. He'll be fine. Since we brought him in, we've changed out the lights they had in the aquarium for him. We gave him UVB, a proper basking spot. We monitor the temps. So he should be okay. And then my third issue that starts from, again, no knowledge, not understanding, again, proper care. Diet. They were feeding him literally nothing but crickets and mealworms. And for those of you that don't know, beardies are omnivores. They need veggies and everything else, all that wonderful goodness that we ourselves don't like to eat. Especially me. I'd rather have a cheeseburger and call it a day. But it is very, very necessity for the health of these guys. So he'd never had any kind of greens, from what I understood. Literally just bugs. That's all they give him. Which is very poor. Very, very poor diet for these guys. So, since we've had him, we've introduced him to the wonderful world of vegetables. He gets kale. He gets lettuce, which doesn't really have a whole lot of nutritional value, but he seems to like it. It's full of water. It's good for hydration, so we make sure we give him a little bit. Along with some occasional fruit. Don't want to overdo the fruit, but you can. Our boy here has a real hankering for his blueberries. Thinks they're the most wonderful thing on the planet. Along with that, we occasionally give him some sweet potatoes and other radish greens. Greens you don't want to feed them, for example, would be spinach. Not very good for them. A little bit, okay, they'll survive. But any severe quantity can cause a lot of health issues for your dragon. So again, people, do your research, understand the needs of your animal before you take your animal in. You're not doing him any favors if you bring him home and you can't properly care for him. And this actually brings me now to issue number 4. And it's a big one for me too. Bad sized, let me rephrase that, improperly sized enclosures. They were keeping him, a full-grown bearded dragon, in a 55-gallon aquarium. This is not acceptable by any means necessary. They don't seem it, but they're big lizards and they do like to move around a bit. A proper sized aquarium for your bearded dragon, bare minimum, is 75, and I personally have to say I think that's kind of still small. I would say at least 100. Pretty much 100 and up. You can't get too big. These guys like their room. They will use it. They'll explore. They'll crawl around. So, we've actually got a new aquarium we are getting in for him soon. So he will soon be in a nice 120-gallon aquarium. And he'll have all the room he can want. So, again, research, people. Understand your animals. And this brings me, to number 5, maintenance. When I brought him home, and we were looking at the aquarium he was in, the amount of fecal matter on the inside of this aquarium was ridiculous. There was no reason for it to ever look this bad. I mean, these guys, they'll go quite a bit, believe me. He was going quite a bit, like a Tuesday night after Chipotle bad, it hits, but now we've got him on a proper diet, his system's getting regular. It's not such a big issue. Never should have been an issue. But what bothered me was just, again, the amount of fecal matter that we found inside of his aquarium. There is no need to let it build up to a point like that. A weekly spot check and cleaning is all it takes. I mean, It's sand, people. You can literally go and buy yourself an utensil like this, or just go to Walmart and get a basic cat litter scoop. That's all it takes. Sift the sand, put the poop in a bag, throw it out. There you go. He's happy, he's clean, no issues to be dealt with. The one thing they did do that I actually really like is they bought this little bed for him. Why? Because he's a prince and deserves to be treated as such. Does he get an attitude too? Oh. With that, that was my 5 biggest issues I've seen when it comes to rehoming animals from people that just don't know how to do their basic research. Don't go on YouTube and listen to some prick talk about right and wrong. Don't do a 5-minute skim on a page or a forum and think you know it all. And don't trust PetSmart. I've actually seen a lot of people that do that. While PetSmart gets some of it right, there's actually a few facts in there they don't. Do your research, learn how to properly care for your animal, and ensure they have a happy, healthy life. If you're going to take the time to bring them into your home, you should take the time to make sure you can care for them properly. They can't take care of themselves, people. But with that, there was actually a second reptile that was surrendered to me from the same family, who, she, for the most part, seemed in good issue, like good health, until I, actually got her home where I could look at her. And unfortunately, I talked to a vet. We're going to start treatment soon. She has an infection in both of her eyes. So unfortunately, she has doesn't really open her eyes very much. I mean, she'll squint them open a little bit, but she has a lot of trouble. She's an absolute sweetheart. We love her. We have another bearded dragon, or excuse me, another one of these little beauties right here that was surrendered to us over a year ago. He was in actually beautiful health. I had no complaints with how they cared about him. He was well taken care of. Good weight, clean enclosure, a proper diet. Everything was done for him. Her issue, though, according to what the vet says, comes back to what I was addressing with the Beardy a little while ago. They were not keeping up maintenance on the proper cleaning and care for her aquarium. And fortunately, she got a little infection, but we are working to get that cleared up. And when that's done, we do plan to rehome her. I've already got somebody lined up who has the knowledge, time, and they're more than willing to take her in and give her a loving forever home. With the one that was surrendered to us a year ago, we actually still have him due to his age. When he was surrendered to us, he was approximately on the verge of turning 14. And their biggest reason for getting rid of him had to do with his age. For those of you that don't know, leopard geckos kind of top out around 16. And he was getting up there in age. The parents were tired of caring for him, and they figured they were just going to rehome him. It sucks. It does happen. And it's not just with reptiles. There are plenty of other animals that people do this to, unfortunately. And that's actually kind of one of my bigger pet peeves. I mean, like I said, they cared for him wonderfully. It's just he got old. So, well, you don't want him no more. It shouldn't be like that. If you're going to take an animal in, you're going to have to accept the fact one day they're going to get old, and they're going to pass. And at that point, it's your responsibility to at least make sure whatever time they have left is comfortable. It's that simple, people. But with that, I'm going to wrap up my first video. I know it's kind of a mess. I get that. We're shooting all this off a phone, people, so bear with me. I will upgrade and invest in proper audio and video equipment if I think it's going to be beneficial for the channel in the long run. But for now, we're going to call it. Have a wonderful day. And remember, Do your research. It's not complicated.